So let's talk about shadowing. I thought this would be a good topic for me to take on because this is something that I had to deal with on a regular basis when I was taking care of my mom when she had early onset Alzheimer's. So here we go. Let's start with a definition of shadowing. So essentially, shadowing is when a person with dementia attempts to keep his or her caregiver in their sight at all times, following them around like a small child would his or her parent. Now, what are some of the things that cause this? So this could actually be a representation of insecurity or fear, and it also could be a little bit of separation anxiety. We have to remember that our loved one is often anxious and afraid. In fact, that's how they feel most of the time. And they're just trying to make sense of things and seeking direction. So really, shadowing is their way of trying to feel secure. So we need to remember that we are essentially their safety net and their safety blanket. That's how they perceive us. So what our loved one might be feeling when they are actually shadowing us. So the first one is, where am I? They may just be confused of their environment, especially if you are traveling and you're in a hotel or a different place, or if you're at someone else's house for the holidays. They might just be confused of where they are. The second one, what am I doing here? We can talk about those same scenarios. So if you're traveling or if you're at somebody's house or even in your own home, they might not know what they're doing there, why they're there. You know, my mom experienced this one because I was caregiving part-time with my dad, so we were sharing the responsibility. So when she would come to me, and the first day or so, it was very confusing to her. She didn't understand what she was doing there and why she was there. What am I supposed to do? Again, especially if you have a loved one that's a doer and is active, this is a big one to keep your loved one engaged and keep them active with meaningful activities. They might not just know what they should be doing with their time. Where am I supposed to be or go, right? So same kind of thing. They just might not know where they're supposed to be or where they're supposed to go, especially if they're in a foreign environment. And they might not just know who you are at that time, and they're just trying to figure it out. So they might be on your shoulder, following you around, looking at your face, trying to recognize something that's familiar to them. And then the last one is fear of being abandoned or lost. Now, all of these is where you have to kind of take a step back and be a detective that we keep saying over and over again throughout this course. Really got to take a look back to see what they are trying to communicate with you, where the fear is coming from, where the insecurity is coming from, and give them that reassurance. Now, I've got a couple stories that you might be able to relate to as far as my mom and her shadowing, and one that happened all the time was when she would come to stay with me. I would be getting ready in the morning at my house and getting my hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff, and she would just follow me around in the bathroom and be right up against me and digging in my stuff and just wanting to be involved in all of that. And, so my solution was to that. My mom loved getting dolled up and made up. She loved makeup and hair and just loved looking put together. So I would tell her, like, hey, Mom, the salon is going to open in 15 minutes, but I need you to sit in the lobby in the waiting room. And then when I'm ready for you, I'll bring you in and we'll get you dolled up for the day. Hair, makeup, the whole deal. We'll blow out your hair, put on some makeup, and we'll just have a whole salon experience. And she would do that. She'd go sit and she'd wait, and I'd give her magazines like she's in a lobby of a beauty salon, and she would sit there and read, and she'd wait for her turn to come into the salon. I'd get the chair in the bathroom and blow out her hair, put makeup on, and it was quite fun. It was a really nice bonding time for us. So eventually she started to learn that was going to be the regular thing when I would be getting ready myself, and she would sit and wait for me to get done, knowing that she would be sitting in the chair next to get ready. Another thing that she did is she did this a couple times, followed me around on the lawnmower. Now, where the first example is kind of that, what am I supposed to do? Why am I here? This one is more of that fear of abandonment. She would come out of the house and follow me around in the lawnmower, like almost run behind me. And I would have to get off the lawnmower and talk to her and say, hey, look, I need to cut the grass. Well, of course, we know that doesn't work. So I'd have to find a solution to kind of distract her. So my mom liked to drink wine. She was a big wine enthusiast. So I'd plan my lawn cutting later in the afternoon so we could have like a little happy hour for her. And I'd put her on the deck with a glass of wine and some magazines again because she did love magazines. And I said, hey, sit here while I cut the grass, have a glass of wine, enjoy yourself, and go through these magazines and find some new hairstyles you might like to try that we can do in the salon, right? So tying that all back together. And she loved it. She'd go through and she would, tear out some pages of hairstyles or, not hairstyles and say that she liked that and she'd like to try it. And then one more she did often. I worked from home on occasion. So when I was working in my office, she would often come in and, be around me and want to like be in my computer and ask me what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. A little bit of repetitive questioning happening here as well. And my mom was one of those doers that I talked about. She just always was busy, always active. And this was like the whole thing again. What am I supposed to do? She wanted to be involved. And she would ask me if she could help. I'm like, well, I'm doing some work. And what you can do, you can help me with this while I'm working. So it could be folding laundry. I'd often say that once you fold this laundry, we'll go for a walk and I'll be done with my work. We can do that together. I'd have her water my plants because she was great at that. And then one time I actually had her organize my cupboards because she was an amazing organizer. Even in like moderate stage Alzheimer's, that was her thing. She was always good at organizing. So I'd send her to my kitchen, like, organize this cupboard. I wouldn't send her to any place that had, dangerous things in it, like knives or whatever, but she did a remarkable job. So find a strength that they have and point them in that direction. Right. And that makes them feel useful too. And it keeps them engaged. We keep saying that engagement and make them feel useful and play up to their strengths, what they can do, and just point them in that direction. That being said, some tips to help, and this will tie it all in together right here. So provide reassurance. I kind of said that over and over again with my stories here. Provide reassurance that they're safe, that that you're there for them, that you understand that how they feel by your actions and reactions, right? We've talked about that. And then provide meaningful activities. That's really the key. When they're shadowing you, when you do that deductive reasoning, that detective work, figure it out, provide an activity to one, distract, and also get them engaged in something that they enjoy, right? And that gives you some time to do what you need to do if you're doing your activities or working or whatever as well, cutting the grass. And then some things, I love these guys. I know we talk about them often in this course, but a great resource for you guys to get some activities that are inexpensive and fun to do is activeminds.org. They are out of the UK, but they have a US link as well. And shipping is not expensive, even though it sounds like they're from the UK. It's like, I think it's like $5 or something. I can't remember, but it's a nominal amount for shipping. Great activities on here. Lots of variety. I love this website. So check it out and maybe get some cool activities for your loved one and you to do together. Therapy dolls. So these are great too. I mean, just dolls really. And the reason these are effective is there's this kind of innate sense and this inherent sense to take care of something. So these can be very soothing for people that might have that agitation and shadowing thing going on. Make recordings of your voice. So this is helpful. I took my mom on a trip that I mentioned before, and I needed some time to like go out and exercise or I was going to lose my mind. And like I've said in, which I will say in Caregiver Wellness coming up, that exercise and not taking care of myself was not something I was going to put on the back burner while I was caregiving. So in order to keep my mom to stay put, I would have to play recordings of me telling her a story or just, some jokes, and she would enjoy that, or even just videos of us together and play that back so she'd be engaged. So I could take 20 minutes and go out for a quick walk or a half-hour run and come back and she would still be there. And your voice is very soothing. It's familiar, they hear sounds, they understand sounds, and it can be very relaxing and soothing to them and make them feel safe and secure when you're not around. Using a timer for me time can also be very helpful and effective, and it does depend on what stage your loved one is. It works best for early to moderate stage. So, for example, you can set a timer for 5 minutes when you're going to go for a shower and show it to your loved one and say, I'm going to be back in 5 minutes, and then we'll do X, right? Or 10 minutes if you're going to go out and do yard work, or 30 minutes if you're going to do some exercise. And, sometimes maybe they want to come down and hang out with you while you're exercising or doing something for that longer period of time, but they have a reference to look at as far as when they're going to know you're going to be done with whatever. And, one that beeps is good. So you can say, look, when this arrow goes around and the timer beeps, then we know we're going to go for a walk or we're going to have dinner, kind of thing. So this can be a really useful tool as well. So music can be a great alternative. This was something that worked great with my mom on occasion. So this is one of those lawn mowing things too. If I was just out doing yard work, I'd sit her outside with me if, she wasn't helping necessarily. She did like to plant, could do all that kind of stuff, but certainly not cut the grass. And I would get a playlist for her put together, and her favorite was like classical and jazz. She loved jazz in particular. And I'd sit her outside with the headphones and music, and she just loved it. She'd be like, swaying back and forth. And, if there was words to any song, she would be singing because she was also a singer in her time. She actually was an a cappella choir and quite a good vocalist. So she enjoyed that quite a bit. And we all have heard and know that music can be very therapeutic for people with dementia. So that sums up shadowing. So hopefully you were able to pick up some new tips and tricks and kind of wrap your head around shadowing and how to maybe work with this a little bit better. Again, engagement, reassurance, all these things come into play. Next up, we will be talking about sundowning, and Ryan will be talking about this very important topic next. So we'll see you there.